What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I know this is a different kind of thing that I do. As of right now, I am going to be breaking down the press conference that went down today. And obviously, a lot of different things have happened with this Flyers team recently. And the reason I'm doing this at noon instead of 11 was I have classes. I'm in college and everything. And I was done at noon, so I figured let's just do it now and break it down and also have this in a video. So this is also a different kind of thing that I'm doing. I know there are some people in here. Thanks everybody for joining. And we'll be tweeting this out just in a minute here as well. Try to get some people in here. Hey, what's up, Jack? How are you, buddy? But yeah, there's a lot of different things that have gone wrong with this team, and to have the press conference, and I know we already had one of these this year. There's obviously been many different questions of what's to happen in the off season, what gets changed, what doesn't. I think there's many different options the Flyers can take, and obviously a lot of people are fed up, and the fans are fed up, and me myself, and obviously not really too happy either. But yeah, it's been rough. So let's get this started. We might as well, kind of break this down and listen. It's about 40 minutes or so it might be a little long. So we'll see what happens here. But yeah, it's let's get this rolling. All right, let me make sure I figure out how to do this. Okay. All right, here we go.
And I can tell you, I'm angry. I know our fans are more than angry, and the whole organization's angry. And we're sick of losing. We talk about this every day, and we've got to figure out how to right the ship. We have a winning culture. Going back to Ed Snyder, it was really instilled in all of us, and something I think about a lot lately. And when we talk about winning, it's not just a winning record, it's winning the Stanley Cup, being a contender. That's really where we want to go. That's who we want to be. As I look back to the start of the season, I had high hopes, really had high hopes. I went back and looked at some of my comments from last fall. I think Chuck made some smart moves. I think we put a really strong roster together, and, unfortunately, it didn't pan out for us. If you were to ask me what our number one challenge is today, it's injuries. It's not an excuse, but it's our reality. I can tell you, I read that medical report every day and open it up and, cringe a little bit. It's last time I looked at it, we were at 10, just at the NHL level, 10 injuries. So the good news is I think some of that will come back to us. We're at the halfway point in the season. We've got some time. But I can tell you, everybody in this organization is waking up every day and really thinking about what we can do to improve this team. Chuck and I talk daily. It's been a good partnership. The front office support, the coaching staff, really all of our hockey people, we're all thinking long and hard about it. So I just want to address our fans for a second and really just say I'm sorry. You deserve so much better than what we're dealing with right now. This isn't what anybody signed up for. I can tell you we're determined to right the ship here and get it right, and looking forward to the future. So with that, I think we'll open it up to questions.
I just might have one quick thing, I guess a little bit off that topic, but I just think it's really important that, we just commend and congratulate Keith Yandel on an incredible accomplishment to play that many games in a row, particularly in that position, going back for pucks, you're getting hit, you're blocking shots. The COVID era, it's just remarkable that he was able to not only play that many games, but I think he's one of the leading scoring defensemen during that time period. So it's an incredible accomplishment, and certainly a little bit of one bright spot in a pretty tough time right now.
That was nice, and seeing Mayhew last night was another bright moment.
Yeah.
A couple.
Yeah.
Chuck, two of your cornerstones, Ryan Ellis and Sean Couture, both been kind of quiet on their injuries. Can you give specifics, and do you expect either to be able to play again this year?
Well, I think they're both, working hard. I think it could go either way with both players. There's a chance they could come back this year, and there's a chance that they will need procedures that will take them out for the rest of the season. So we're trying to do everything we can to avoid surgery in both cases. And yet, having said that, the most important thing for me, my direction to the players and to the medical staff is, at this point, we have a long road ahead of us this year. Let's get these guys right for next year. If that allows them to play, get healthy this year and play, great. But the focus has got to be on their long-term health. And speaking with the doctors and our medical people, we do not feel these injuries are career-threatening at all, but they certainly could be season-threatening, as we all have seen.
Have you had talks a lot about potentially waiving his number?
I spoke with Pepperson yesterday. We speak 2 to 3 times a month generally. We have a few other clients of his on our roster, so I have a very good relationship with Pat, and I think a great relationship with G. I think the best way to put it, first of all, I think Bob Clark is probably the best player in franchise history. Once we get beyond Bob Clark, there's been some great players: Billy Barber, Bernie Perrant, Lindros, Simon Gagne. Go on, Brian Propp, you can go on. And I think Claude is certainly right in that group. Eric Desjardins, I shouldn't forget him, but he's right in that group. He's one of the best Flyers to ever play. He's our captain. He's been our best player this year. Nobody cares more about the Flyers than he does. So, I think we have to recognize what we're dealing with here. He's a franchise icon. His jersey's going to be in the rafters. To me, he's a Hall of Fame player. But Claude has a no move trade in his contract. Ultimately, that'll be his decision. And we're at the halfway point. We're 2 months to the trade deadline. So I guess the best way to put it is that we'll continue to have conversations, and ultimately, a decision will have to be made one way or the other. But it'll be Claude's decision.
And follow up on that, at the deadline, do you guys feel like you'll be in rebuild mode and looking to deal veteran guys, and this team needs a makeover, so to speak, going forward?
Yeah, look, everything's on the table. We're gonna try to aggressively retool here. The trade deadline, typically, as you all know, the teams that are clearly going to make the playoffs are often looking to add guys on expiring contracts. The teams that aren't making the playoffs are have a chance maybe to add some future assets, whether they be draft picks or prospects. You do get the occasional hockey trade at the trade deadline, but if we are at the 43 game mark, we have a we're right now really focused on trying to win some games and get better. The math is daunting. So in view of that, if this continues, then clearly we're going to look to do what we can at the trade deadline to improve this team going forward.
Kind of a follow for that, this is more to Chuck, but also did Kate as well. And kind of taking a big picture look. 3 of the last 4 seasons now for you guys. I guess this season there's always a chance to turn around, but it's kind of been somewhere between disappointments and total disasters. And I guess, has it reached the point, speaking of that rebuild, where the organization acknowledges that this thing maybe doesn't necessarily have to be blown up, but that major changes have to be made, and it's more of like a rebuilding approach?
Yeah, Charlie, look, I don't think there's any question we need more top-end talent. And, Claude Giroux is our best offensive hockey player. He's 34 years old. He was drafted 16 years ago. We have some good young players, and some of those young players, their career arc is still going to play out. But we do need more top-end talent. There's no question. And I think we've tried to address that a bit the last few years, adding some players with some skill sets that we need, and we just have to continue to chip away at that. But I do believe there's a group of players here that can constitute, that can be part of a winning core. But we definitely need to add more pieces. And and that'll be the focus going forward.
You talk about adding top end talent. Is the only way to add that top end talent, because obviously it's difficult to get those kind of guys who trade ranges, is the only way to get that top end talent to bottom out and get high draft picks and rebuild in that sense?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way to get top end talent is through the draft. That's historically that's been proven year after year. Bottoming out, I don't think that's what we feel we need to do. I mean, I do believe we have good pieces, and realistically, players like Couturier and Ellis are going to come back at some point. When they come back, we're a significantly better hockey team. But we need to take advantage of the opportunities we do have in the draft. We have to look at trades, and obviously you can always supplement your roster through free agency. So, but it's, look, we need more top end talent, and the draft is the easiest way, but we're not going to trade all 20 players on our team and try to get 15 picks every year. I don't think that's the right approach.
Charlie, let me just add too. I don't really see this as being a 3, 4, 5 year rebuild at all. I don't think Chuck does either. We have a pretty good core. I think it really starts with a healthy Coots and Hayes, Farabee. Would love to have Ellis back. We've got a core group to build on. So, I think as we look at the reality of it, 2, 3 pieces would be great, maybe a little more. But the core is good. We just got to get healthy. My job is to make sure Chuck's got all the resources he needs to make this a success, and he does. And I can tell you everything's on the table. We're looking at the front office. We're looking at the coaching staff, which we have been, our players, investment, whatever we need to do to improve this team. But I don't see it being a 3, 4, 5 year thing. We should get this thing right, and we should be in it next year.
Hey, with coaching, you have a guy that's in the top 10 wins, knowing he couldn't get this back on track. Miguel has experience. But what kind of coach are you looking for to kind of steer this back in the right direction?
I think, I'll let Chuck answer that. I think, long term, we'll have a lot of good options. Right now, we feel Mike's holding a very difficult hand. I'm proud of him. He shows up positive every day. And, but as we look longer, I don't know, Chuck, got some good options to think about longer term.
Yeah, we'll see how the rest of the season plays out, and the best time to make those decisions is in the summer, when the off season, when you're not burdened with the daily grind of games and practices, and you can sort of objectively look at what you need to do as a team. And Mike's been dealt a tough hand. He's doing the best he can, and I've actually seen progress in some areas in terms of neutral zone, defensive zone. We're giving up less. Unfortunately, right now it seems like we make some egregious big mistakes at the wrong time, and right now we're not able to generate the offense to overcome those. But I've seen progress, and we're going to have an opportunity here. We only have 2 road games, I believe, between now and March 10th. We have a lot of practice days. We have opportunity to hopefully reintegrate some of the injured players back into the lineup. And as we look ahead here, the goal is to win some games the rest of the way, become stabilize here, become a better team. But, I can't state enough how important the next few months will be for some of our young players. And it's just not realistic to go out, as I mentioned to Charlie earlier, to reinvent a team. You can't replace 20 players every year. And we have some young players that right now are getting an opportunity to play in the NHL, probably because of injury. We also have some young players that are in the American League. We have a couple of young players, unfortunately, that are injured. But over the next 8 weeks, this is unbelievable opportunity for these players to show what they can do and to show us. And maybe some of the answers to what we're looking for are here in-house, and that's what you hope. And that'll certainly be one of the areas of focus here as we go forward.
Just for Dave, how concerned are you by the dwindling attendance? And what message do you have to the fans?
Yeah, Sam, it's, when you're not winning, you don't have a good product on the ice, it's going to impact attendance. So we're feeling it. I'm feeling for the fans. You've got team performance. You also got COVID protocol. Philadelphia is very tough with this vaccination, so that's impacting attendance. It's impacting the Wings. It's impacting the Sixers. You know, it doesn't help the cause. But bottom line is we have to get better. We got to figure out how to win games.
Chuck, you just brought in a new assistant. Was there a reason that there was such a delay from when, you know, the others left to now?
You know, just part of the process. We spoke to some different people. You know, we were offered an opportunity to come in and coach for the rest of the season with no promises beyond that. And, you know, so I'm very thankful that for John Torchetti coming in, kind of, you know, to be honest with you, helping, you know, Mike and I right now. And I think that was great. Some people aren't interested in 2-month opportunities to move away from their family with no promises. So, but it took a little bit of time, and we just gone through a stretch of 8 games in 13 days where you're literally just, you know, you're just trying to make sure you have enough time to make the right decision. But John's a lifer. This is a man I've worked with before, but he's technically very savvy. He's run power plays, run PKs, been an interim head coach. He's coached in the American League, coached in the ECHL, coached in Russia. He's done everything, and I think he'll really help Mike and the coaching staff and the players. And part of what I mentioned earlier is we have a handful of players that are in the NHL right now that maybe typically wouldn't be, and so we're also, in addition to preparing for games and trying to win games, you're also developing in the NHL, which is not a usual thing. And John's great at that area. So, you know, we appreciate him coming in and offering to help us.
Quick follow-up to that. Is he in COVID protocol now?
Yes, that's kind of sums things up right there.
It's the usual, Sam.
There's no idea when he'll, I don't know if he tested or negative today.
Yeah, we grabbed him at the airport, and 2 hours later he was in COVID protocol. So it just, you can't make this stuff up. But anyway, yeah, hopefully he'll be a candidate to coach Saturday, but it's kind of right around that.
You mentioned power play. Will he run the power play?
That'll be up to Mike. You know, Mike can address. I think he's looking at it a different way, and you know, he'll certainly lighten Mike's workload, and you know, Daryl and Nick Schultz have done a great job too. But just getting one more experienced guy will really help this situation, and having a few more hands on deck.
This is for both of you as well. While you're missing some veterans with injuries, whatever, but how much do you think the lack of development by young players that you've given a lot of resources to that puts you in this position where what's on the ice just can't compete?
Yeah. Well, I can't compete. Certainly right now we're not competing. I think I would argue, you know, I think on November 20th we had about a 600 points percentage. So I don't think our process was great. I don't think we were playing the right way. To me, we didn't have the puck enough. There were certain things we wanted to change, but we were hanging around a playoff spot. So I think this team, you know, right now, obviously everything's going wrong. I get it. It's unacceptable. We're working at that every day, but we have some good young players. I mean, sometimes young players don't develop because they're not talented enough, and sometimes they don't develop because we don't put enough resources in. I can tell you that, you know, thanks to Dave, we doubled the size of our development staff last year, and it's a little bit like gardening. You plant seeds in the ground. It might take a year or two to see the fruits of that, but you know, we've invested a lot of money in every area, including player development. In the last few months, we're doubling the size of our analytics department. We just named Alan McCauley director of player personnel, and we've added to our pro staff. We've added to our amateur staff. We overhauled our strength and conditioning department last summer. So, you know, this is my third full season here. We've made an awful lot of changes, in many cases adding to the existing staff. We've massively increased our budget, and you know, hopefully as we go forward here, we're going to have the personnel in place to make sure that we properly develop every player that we draft.
So that's the resources. You've been here for, you know, almost 3 years now. Is the talent there?
I mean, that's a pretty broad question. Joel Farabee, absolutely. Talent's there. I mean, we can go through player by player. It's no different when you draft. Some players hit, some players don't hit, and you know, we, as I mentioned to Charlie earlier, I think there's no question we need more top end talent. but we have a lot of good hockey players, and we have a pretty good core here, and time will tell. Look, my first draft here, and I say that just because I wasn't in the room when it happened. For a lot of these past drafts, I could tell you I've read all the reports from our scouts from 2014 on. I know what everybody felt. I know where we were right and where we were off, but I wasn't in the room when these decisions were made as to certain players when they were picked. From 2019 on, I can tell you, the first player we took was Cam York. We drafted him because we really felt we needed another puck-moving defenseman, a guy that could retrieve and help on the power play, kind of one of these modern age, new age defensemen. He's 21 years old. He's already making an impact on our team. Our second and third round pick from that draft are still in college. The 20 draft, 21 draft, obviously it's hard to tell. So I can tell you, I believe our scouts do a hell of a job. And, I like the process we have in place, and I believe we're going to be able to find good talent going forward with the group that we have.
Dave, as a follow-up to Sam's question earlier, as Chuck and his team are going through this process of running the ship and getting things going again, what can the organization do to try and get fans to come back and to be part of what the organization is trying to do and be excited about it going forward?
Yeah, we have to continue to communicate with our fans, and Valerie Camilla runs the business side there, and we're trying to do everything and more. Another area we're investing in, but my job again is to provide Chuck and Valerie with resources, and that's what I'm doing.
Chuck, Dave mentioned as well about the impact of injuries this season. I guess kind of going into that, there have been multiple guys, Ellis, Hayes, Broussard, Farabee, who return to action and then immediately or soon after get re-injured or injured in a similar way. I guess from the outside, it can look like these guys are coming back too soon. And you mentioned about the idea of kind of analyzing everything in the organization. Is there analyzing the medical staff and whether you guys are taking a wrong approach to injuries and pushing guys to return too soon? It's actually hurting the team in terms of guys being out longer than they should than otherwise.
Yeah, well, clearly we do that at the end of every season, and again, we're kind of midstream here, so it's difficult to have that full season autopsy that you normally do. A lot of the stuff we'll have to do at the end of the year. We're going, but clearly it's an area we're going to look at. We've had conversations with the doctors, and I don't know that players have come back too soon. There's been a little bit of bad luck, I guess, and a couple of these injuries are a little bit complicated where, the player feels pretty good and then gives it a try and then something can re-aggravate it. So, but look, it's been tough, and you're right, there has been recurrence in a couple cases, and that's something you want to avoid. So again, as I said, everything's on the table. We're definitely going to look at it. Just in season here, there's only so much you can kind of do in the moment, but the questions are being asked, and certainly we'll dig into it as we go forward.
I guess it's kind of following, like you mentioned earlier about Couturier and Ellis, about how they're kind of on the fence about surgeries. Is there a line in the sand point of the season where you might decide that it's not even really worth it to keep pushing these guys back and just get a jump start on next season so they're fully ready?
That there's an element of that, but I think the biggest element is just what's best for the player. In a lot of cases, surgery should be the last resort. You're not rushing to have guys get surgery. If there's a way to allow the player to heal without surgery, that's what we're exploring. But ultimately, your hope is that if surgery does happen, that it doesn't impact next year. So, we're not at that point with either player, but the driving force behind everything we do right now is doing what's best for the player and trying to get them back without surgery if we can avoid it.
Chuck, you have a pretty big decision with Rasmus Ristolainen and he's intending to pay. How do you evaluate that trade? And do you do him as a piece of the future or a piece that you could possibly do?
Well, when we traded for him, clearly I paid a big price. I recognize that. It's difficult to get physical defensemen, never mind physical right shot defensemen. There were other teams that were offering similar type of packages to ours, and we had the highest pick, so we got him. And I recognize we paid a big price. And, I mentioned to Charlie earlier, we need more top end talent. I also think we need, some bigger, more competitive people too. You look at that game last night, and the Islanders are a big, heavy team, and we had our hands full. So, we need to do a better job of competing in that area as we go forward. And Ristolainen can certainly be part of a 6-man defense core and bring an element that not a lot of people have. So, the goal when we traded for him was to keep him, and obviously he's a pending UFA, and he will control a lot of that discussion, and we'll work with his representation to see what makes sense.
Chuck, how involved is Danny Briere involved in day-to-day decision making? I guess, do you see him as a kind of guy who will get more involved, perhaps?
Yeah, we've had a lot of good conversations with Danny, and certainly during the process when he was interviewing with Montreal, we were communicating a lot, and Brett and I were trying to help a bit. It was a great opportunity for Danny. But Danny, obviously he's been president of the Maine franchise. A couple of years ago in the 2020 draft, Danny looked at a lot of the potential first rounders and worked with Brent on kind of that area we were looking at when we drafted Tyson Forster. So he's been involved then. He's been involved in player development this year. He's been on the bench with Lappy. I think moving forward here, he's going to have a much bigger role in hockey ops. He's a guy to me that great, obviously knows the game, played the game, great personality, very good evaluator of players. And I think there's a lot he can add to our group. And again, he has been involved in a lot of the decisions. He sat in pretty much every big meeting we've had the last 2 years. So I've enjoyed working with him, and hopefully it's something that can transition to even a bigger role with us going forward.
I can follow up to the question Marcus asked you about talent evaluation within the organization. When you look and you do your self-evaluations, and then you see what you have and you see what was here before you got here and what you have to work with, does it almost make it a little bit more challenging for you to now have to come up with creative ways to try and work on the roster because of what maybe limitations you might have with what you have?
But that's the job of every general manager. I came here, accepted this job. I knew the pluses and the minuses. Every team has them. Look, I can just tell you, I'll just go back to the drafts we've had since I've been here. And if you look at what we've tried to do, I think, Cam York, we really felt we needed another defenseman that could move the puck. And I still think that's one of the areas of our game that we need the most work on, our retrievals, our transition. We don't get out of D zone quickly and cleanly enough for my liking. We defend too much. It's hard to score goals when you're defending. Cam York is a guy I think can really help in that regard. If you look after that, trying to find some creative offensive players, we drafted Bobby Brink, undersized guy, tremendous heart, competitor, hockey sense. Tyson Forster, big shot, trying to find we don't have enough shooters in my mind. Part of the reason we got Cam Atkinson, trying to find some shooter scorers instead of guys trying to make plays all the time. He's a guy that could complement our group really well. And even last year with Tuomo, they traded our first round pick. But, Samu is a guy that if he hits, he's got quickness, the shot, and the offensive skill. He's got things he has to work on to play. But we've tried to add some talent, some guys that have a chance to hit, even some of our later picks. They don't, not every player makes it, but, we're trying to find talent. And I think every team in the league is trying to do that. And yet, you also need some big physical guys too. So there's a balance, but we're pursuing that. We'll continue to pursue that. And we'll continue to work with this group, and we have some good talent on our team. Kids like Farabee and Konechny, those are two of the better young forwards in the league, and lots of skills. So I'm hopeful Morgan Frost can continue to take a step. He's a young man. I think the last 3 games have probably been his best. He's still a work in progress, but coming off missing a whole year, he's a guy that has a chance to play and bring a skill set that we need. And he's one of the players that has a great opportunity here the next couple months to impress upon us and maybe be a part of the solution next year, so we don't have to buy one more player in free agency. So So there's parts here that we're hopeful about, and we'll just continue to grow the group.
Dave, there's a segment of Flyers fans and alums, former players. I guess you can debate the size of the segment, but there's a segment out there that says the Flyers become too disconnected from the Ed Snyder way, so to speak, personal relationships or just the way you treat fans. Or have you sensed that, feel that, heard that, and do you feel it's fair? And if it is or not, does it matter?
You know, I mean, I feel if you talk to people inside the organization now, and I think it's been pretty stable for a couple of years now, whether it's on the business side, I've had Valerie Camillo. She's in her 4th year. She's a terrific executive. She's built a great team. You know, Chuck's, been here now just about as long, I guess about the same time. And so, no, I think if you asked anybody in hockey ops, they would say nothing's changed. Talk to the old timers, people that are still with the organization. I think if you're on the outside looking in, maybe you're hearing some things and seeing it differently. But with that said, you can always make it better. And, I want it to be a family atmosphere. I don't think it's changed. I mean, I've been living it in my 9th season here. And we've just tried to build on what Ed started. And I will say this, Comcast has been the same terrific partner to me that they were to Ed. I mean, Comcast has been in this thing for 26 years, the controlling partner. So, it's
Comcast is committed to keeping the Flyers.
Absolutely. I mean, it's I mean, we're headquartered here. We have a lot of sports content, throughout the company, and this is something that everybody gets excited about.
Maybe coaching change this year, be another coach likely at the end of this year. At what point do you now look above that? Your management structure on it, what's that stuff right here? At what point is your commitment to the general manager? And
sure. I mean, right now, Chuck's my guy, and we're trying to build around that, trying to strengthen his front office team as much as we can, and made a lot of positive changes that way. So I'm excited about that. I feel like I'm personally surrounded by great hockey people. We've got our 4 advisors, I've got Chuck, I've got his staff, Brent Flair. We've got a deep bench of talent, on the hockey ops side. So I don't feel like I'm not lacking anything at this point.
Take a few more. Chuck, you've been in the game, I think since 1993. Have you ever had a season like this, just where your team's where it is in the standings, injuries, all those things included?
Yeah, it's been a disappointing season. And again, we knew we're in a tough conference, and it's a tough league, but we fully expected to be a competitive team and in the playoff hunt and be a good hockey team. And we haven't been. So a lot of factors involved. Injuries are a part of it, but other teams have had injuries and been able to get through it. But it's been extremely disappointing, because I think this is probably the biggest disconnect I've ever felt between what we should be, in my opinion, and what we are. And so that obviously I'm the guy in charge. That falls on me. But right now we are where we are, and I guess just my mindset is now there's going to be opportunities to get better. And we have to take advantage of them. We can't undo what's been done. First thing is we got to find a way to win a game here. We got to take the temperature down. We got to stabilize. We got to get a good environment back around here so we can make objective, smart decisions. And there'll be a lot of opportunities to improve the team. There'll be opportunities for young players to show what they can do. And we'll have some time here to get this back on track. But there's no question. It's I've been through tough stretches. But this is, definitely the toughest thing I've ever been through, and the biggest disappointment.
You mentioned that the injuries being issues. Other teams have dealt with injuries. COVID was an issue for this team. Other teams are dealing with COVID. Why hasn't this team been as resilient as you would like this team?
It's a good question. And again, maybe with time we'll be able to break it down and look at it. We're right in the middle of it right now, and still have half a season, and it's hard to do those types of analyses when you're midstream. But a whole host of factors, and again, we had a pretty good record around Thanksgiving, but I don't think we were playing to our ability. And from that point on, it's been a free fall really since Thanksgiving. certainly, again, a lot of key guys out of the lineup. Some other players not playing to their capabilities. It's been tough. It's been tough right now. This is a real tough stretch, and I think right now we have 10 forwards out between Lappy's team and our team. We're relatively healthy on defense. We don't have Ellis. We have our goalies, but we've been decimated up front, and we're struggling to score goals. I still think we should find a way to score more, but right now we're a little bit thin and certainly not generating a lot of offensive chances. But it's been a whole host of reasons, and again, it's been the biggest disappointment that I've been through in terms of where we're at right now.
Chuck, with the team basically out of the playoff picture, is it important to start bringing up some of the fans, guys, specifically Igor Zamola? Would you like to give him some experience here? And do you weigh that against benching like Yandel, who obviously just set the record?
Well, I mean, again, up front, I think we have 6 Phantom guys up here right now. On defense, I think ideally players should develop in the American League until they're ready. Igor's getting better and improving. He's still a young man that needs to get stronger, needs to get more experience, and he has a huge role for Lappy. Lappy's doing a great job with the players down there. So I think the goal is to give players a chance when they're ready for it, and you don't want to rush them. And but so no, that may happen, but at this stage, I think we want to make sure we're rewarding and playing the right people.
Dave, you mentioned a couple minutes ago that straight up said Chuck's your guy, and just the fact that you're sitting up here with him, it kind of serves as an endorsement of that. I guess my question is, to you personally, why do you have confidence that Chuck is the right guy to spearhead this moving forward, especially given the way the last 2 seasons have played out?
Yeah, no, I mean, I like the way he's built this organization. I've worked with some of the predecessors over time, and I like his style. I like his leadership. He's smart. He's collaborative. I've never seen the front office, working this well together. And again, this is my 9th season. So I like what we did going into this season. On paper, it looked really solid and good. Injuries happened. Again, no excuses for it, but it did happen. I think we had more than anybody I've seen, at least on the reports I see. We just got hit really hard with the injuries. So I think, deserves a shot to really right this thing. And I'm going to give him a blank check. We're going to get this right. I mean, whatever we need to do. Don't want to wait. I want to deal with it now. So.
Next question.
Chuck, a couple of years ago, actually for a number of years, if you look at where national rankings apply, the farm system, the Flyers are usually at or right at the top. And there have been guys that have filtered up to the NHL and have been contributors.
Mm-hmm.
But in looking in terms of where things were seemingly the best at one point and where you're at now, and injuries, there have been guys, Wade Allison, Kaczynski, who had serious injuries. But are you satisfied with where things have been development-wise over the time period things have been?
In terms of the player development?
In terms of player development.
Yeah, again, I thought we needed to add some more bodies, and we've again doubled the size of the staff, and I just think it's such a big role right now. There's no question we can do better and everything, and that's what we're looking to do. And I think we have good people. The people that were here were good people, but it's difficult when you have a couple people handling 30 odd players or whatever you may have on your reserve list in your developmental system. And even in the American League, we had 1 assistant coach. Now we have 2. Bill Downey's also taken on a bigger role. So I think the more people you have, the more players you can touch. And that's sort of, we want quality people. And I think we do have some good people. Shell Samuelson and John Riley have been here a long time. They're good development people, but there's only, you can only be in one place. On the road seeing Ronnie Adder or something, and somebody else isn't getting seen. So now we're trying to get more bodies and people out there. But I think between increasing, the doubling the size of the analytics staff and doubling the size of the development staff are going to be able to get a lot more work done in all of these areas and have a lot more information and be able to do a better job. But there's no question, it's a big challenge but I think we're in a pretty good spot right now. We're getting better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Well, that was there's a lot to break down there. Wow, a lot of comments. I couldn't see the comments when I was on there. So yeah, I'm gonna be taking a look at those. Oscar the Grouch, thank you for the $1.99 donation. I appreciated that a lot. Thank you so much there. So obviously there's a lot of different things to break down. I just want to make sure everybody can still hear me, right? Nothing's wrong with the stream or anything like that. It's the first time me kind of doing this myself, so I'm just trying to make sure. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of things. I took a lot of notes throughout that. So the first thing I kind of started at was Giroux. Obviously, that was one of the main things. I think the whole Giroux thing, I think that's going to play out the way it plays out. I mean, I think there's really, look, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think there's no possible way that, to me, it seems like every single thing can happen. Any possibility. He can get traded, free agency, or he could re-sign with the Flyers. Either or. I mean, any of the three possibilities can happen. It seems like that they're the way that they're going to react at the deadline is that they're going to aggressively retool. And that's one thing that I kind of take into consideration of what I've been saying. It seems like that they're going to try to move as much as possible and then try to really fix some things. And Chuck, said, and quote unquote, I don't think there's any question we need top end talent or we need more top end talent. So that's obviously something that they have and they have a direction with the way that they want to take it. So that's obviously something you have to look at there. It seems like that the coach thing is going to be in the summer. I mean, again, like it seems like a lot of this stuff we kind of already knew and kind of realized. It seems like they talked about a lot of the analytics, and I was actually glad that Charlie O'Connor asked this question. They talked about analyzing the analytic department, development, all that stuff, player development, everything. And he asked, the medical staff, because it seems like a lot of the guys have come back. And obviously I've talked about that before. So there's obviously an area there where, what do the Flyers do with the medical staff? How do they kind of address it? To me, it seems like if I would hope they address it, because it doesn't really seem like that there's much, that's been a good thing out of the medical staff this year. There's been so many injuries, so many guys have kind of gone downhill, and again, they openly admitted Hayes was rushed back. Ellis, another guy, played one game. Broussard played one game and he was back, and then Farabee, obviously that was recently, and then obviously Allison. Like, there's so many different ones of guys that they've dealt with injury. They've dealt with many different things, and obviously then he starts talking about Ristolainen, and he recognizes that they paid a big price for him. So that would lead me to believe that they would try to do everything that they can to keep him. Obviously they're not going to say much on that matter, because it's more of you can't it's not like the Flyers want to show the cards that they're dealing, you know what I mean? So they're definitely going to look at different areas of where they can address the team and things like that. But he mentions getting more puck moving guys in here, more guys in the back end. It's obviously that they defend too much, and I think a lot of that can also translate into a coach. So I think that kind of can translate into the way that they want to play. And it's funny, Mr. Twitzer, I know you say that they have a good core, but they're all in their 30s. And the Flyers do have a good core here. I mean, it's not like they don't have a bunch of all these players that they can build around. It's not like they're, have one, two, have like one line essentially. They have a good chunk of guys. It's just when everything goes wrong and then you don't have a coach and all that stuff, I mean, it makes it harder. So I think they do realize the talent they have here. And I know there was questions about the talent and stuff. You guys know me. That's not necessarily where I look at this stuff. I do believe the Flyers have talent. I do think there are things to build around here. And I also don't want to give up on guys just because they had a bad season or, maybe one or two in a row or haven't necessarily performed well this year. That's not how I think that could be realistic. But again, I think there's a lot of different things here and that they can build upon and especially Ristolainen. And I said it before and I'll say it again. I think he's a guy that you can keep. I think for the most part, there's many guys that the Flyers, how do I say this? It kind of seems like that there's many guys with Ristolainen where like they don't have as many or there aren't as many in the league. So I think you probably want to try to keep him as much as possible. I just don't see any reason why you wouldn't. I know he could probably get you something good on the market, but then again, you're losing another defenseman who you paid a lot for. So that's kind of where I'm at as well. Like, at least try to save him. Because if I'm looking at cap friendly, I'm going to pull this up on my phone for the Flyers here because there's, obviously it's one of the main sites that everybody uses. It's great. But, yeah, right now with the Flyers, age, they have 4 players, 5. If you're counting Kevin Connaughton, there's one. Let's see. This is so hard to navigate the age. Giroux's 34, JVR's 32, Atkinson is 32, Justin Braun is 34, Yandel is 35, and then Connaughton is 31, and then Martin Jones is 32. So they have a handful of guys, and a lot of those guys are one-year deals, probably won't even be here. So that's kind of where I'm like, the whole guys that are 30 thing, like what you guys are saying here, like that's kind of where I disagree because like they do have talent here, and it's not like a lot of these guys are just old and my thing is they don't have as many guys that are puck moving or can like necessarily skate as well. Like Braun isn't the best skater. Ristolainen's decent at it. Yandel obviously has struggled with it, and York is one of those guys. And Chuck mentioned him as well. There's only so many guys that you can bring in here and try to change this thing. So that's why I think at this point, it felt like last year, going into this season was the year to change everything. But as of right now, there's obviously a lot of things that they need to change. And Chuck also mentioned that, we don't have enough shooters in my mind, which is part of the reason why we brought up why we got Cam Atkinson. He said that as well. And I think they're going to address that again, probably add another shooter, another sniper. It would be nice if they add a power play threat to that, because again, there's really there really isn't anybody on this power play that legitimately shoots, and again, I think there's a lot of different things. And I know they just hired John Torchetti, who's a guy who's coached all over and recently coached in the Quebec League in Moncton, and he was released there. But yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot of different things. And Scott also talked about the Snyder and the fan relationship. He said, I want it to be a family atmosphere. He said he doesn't think it's changed. For fans that have gone to the games, there's obviously been a lot of talk about that. Personally, I personally haven't necessarily loved some of the things that have kind of happened there, but I think there is a lot of time to kind of fix this. And overall, I think Scott also mentioned that he's liked the way that Chuck's built the organization, and that they want to deal with it now and not later, and they don't want to wait. And it seems like there's a lot of different things. Also, he talked about Briere, who helped out in the draft in 2020. He was a big piece in drafting Forster. He's going to have a bigger role in hockey ops, which seems like that was kind of something that we were going to figure out. But again, I think there's a lot of different things that you can take out of this. It seems like the plan is to aggressively retool and that personally for me, I think that's the best decision, and I agree with that. Any questions? Anything in here that you guys want to drop? I know there's been a lot in here. I'm going to try to read as much as I can. Let's see, because I know throughout a lot of the thing, because it was weird when I went on StreamYard, because I'm used to doing this with Amadeo, and when that happens, I can still see the comments and everything, but when I did it, I couldn't, so I had to pull it up on my phone at the same time. Jason, appreciate that. Thank you, buddy. It means a lot. And this one's from Rick Fern. What free agents would even want to come here? I mean, if the Flyers can again, it's not like they don't have talent or anything like that. It's not like Philly's a bad city to play in. Obviously, like city wise, it's a good city. It's classic and a lot of different things. And I don't know if he's heard that text, but I apologize. Obviously, there's different things there, but I personally, I'm not too sure what free agents the Flyers target. I think they need another sniper. I don't know if they do that via trade, sniper shooter, I should say. I don't know if they do that via trade, because obviously he mentions top end talent, and I think that's something that they are also lacking, and they also need to get healthy at the same time. Rob here mentions Gaudreau. I think that could be a possibility. I'm not too sure what happens there. He is a free agent. But I mean, I think there's a lot of guys. I think it's the way that the Flyers kind of to play it, and obviously they're not going to show their cards or anything like that. But it's not like the Flyers. Going into this season, you got Atkinson, you got Brassard, you got Yandel, all these guys who kind of mentioned. Yandel was a guy who mentioned that Philly was one of his first spots. So I think there's a lot that you can build on here, but obviously there's many different issues and. Obviously, I personally hope they do take a good look at the medical staff, because that really does seem like an issue, and it's frustrating when you try to get healthy throughout a season, and then you have that where guys come back early and then they openly admit it. That even makes it more aggravating. But yeah, I mean, look, personally, I think there's a lot here to break down. And if they're going to go into this season, I obviously have to let this season play out. There's obviously, Fletcher talked about, there's a huge opportunity here with the young players and guys like that. I personally think they should bring up Zamula at this point, because I know they Fletcher kind of mentioned it seems like he's going to be staying down there. That's at least how I saw that. It seems like he's going to be staying down there, but I don't know. I mean, I personally think if you're trying to bring out as much opportunity and talk about the opportunity with the guys, I think other guys should be able to at least get an opportunity, because Zamula hasn't gotten that, and Frost has at times. York has for really since he's been up here, he's played a good amount of minutes, and he's been one of the top end guys for it. It's brutal, but I think there's a lot of different things to take in here, and the Flyers have a couple days off, play again on Saturday, so we'll see what happens. Any other questions late here? I really do appreciate all you guys kind of coming in here and talking with me and hanging out. I saw we had up to like 30 people in here as I was kind of showing the stream, and then now we got 20 right now, so it's awesome. Thank you guys so much for the support, as always, because again, I wouldn't be anywhere where I am right now without you guys. So any other questions before I kind of end this off? Because I will not shy away from a hockey question. That is one thing. I'm trying to go up here and look at some of these other ones. All right. Well, I think that's it. Again, thank you guys for watching. Remember, you can check out Buttons. You can use code PHI for 10% off. Garrett Group Construction for any home improvement needs. Also SeatGeek. I will mention SeatGeek. SeatGeek, which is code FlyersFanMania for $20 off. Almost literally forgot I had another sponsor to mention. Is Sandstrom hurt? No, he's not hurt. They did call him up the other day. He was activated to the taxi squad. I believe he is up here, and I think they actually sent him down the other day, if I recall, or he could still be on. He's either on the taxi squad or he's with Lehigh Valley. I believe he is going to be. I personally think he might be getting some games soon because there's been a rumor that Jones could be getting moved to the Oilers. So we'll see what happens there. But no, Sandstrom is not hurt, to answer your question. But again, thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you all again soon.